Andretti is back on top in IndyCar racing. Not Mario, but his son Michael. He's the only repeat winner this year with victories at Long Beach and just last weekend at the American 200 at the Milwaukee Mile. Andretti's car still working very well. He's moved into second, but Rick Mears won't have any part of it. He moves alongside Michael. Now Michael to the high side passes Sneva and gets the lead. Michael Andretti, with tremendous foresight and driving ability, takes the lead in the third and fourth turns and then even puts some traffic between himself and second place Sneva. This year's one-car Craco team with crew chief Barry Green has proven to be successful. Michael was second quick in qualifying yesterday, but is still confident of a victory here today.
Obviously, when you're doing as well as we have so far, it helps all of us. You know, it gives us that little psychological edge. But, you know, as long as we can keep an open mind and just, you know, just try to keep the momentum going and not get too confident.
Leader in motorsports coverage presents Auto Racing 86, setting the standards with the most extensive schedule in racing. We welcome you to Portland International Raceway in Oregon for today's Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 IndyCar race. A beautiful day here, sunny skies, 73 degrees. They say about a 40% chance of rain during the afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with IndyCar driver Derek Daly, and to all of you, a very happy Father's Day. We've had a wide variation of weather here. On Friday during practice, sunny and very hot. Yesterday during qualifying, we had cloudy skies and rain. Today, sort of in between. What's that mean, Derek?
I think it mainly means that some of the grid positions that we see here at the start of the race may not be truly representative of what some of the guys can do, because people like Sneva and Kogan are very far back in the wet, but they were very fast in the dry.
One of those guys who was very fast in wet conditions yesterday, the pole sitter, Emerson Fittipaldi. He qualified many times in the rain when he was in Formula One. To his outside on the front row will be Michael Andretti, the hottest driver in IndyCar racing.
I think back at Phoenix in our first race, we suggested that maybe Michael Andretti might be the coming superstar. I think he has definitely developed into the superstar combination with this new look Craco team.
Jack Arute will be covering the pit area for us today during this 200-mile race here at Portland. He has more on our pole sitter, Emerson Fittipaldi.
Bob, this guy's been on poles before, but in Formula One racing, his first pole ever in kart competition. Emerson Fittipaldi, first of all, congratulations. But the natural question is, can you sustain it from the pole? You qualified in the rain.
Yes, my Marlboro car was very good on the rain, but was very good on dry. And running full tanks on dry, I was happy. I hope I can stay like that in the race.
Now, what's the key here, Emo, as you look at it, starting in the pole position, going the distance here? Is it going to be fuel? Is it going to be tires? Is it going to be a driver against driver, or maybe driver against track?
No, I think it's going to be is a very tiring race, physically, for the drivers. It's a long race. It'll be more tough, I think, on the fuel consumption.
Now, looking over on the side of you, starting on the outside, is the guy that's the hottest driver in competition right now. That's Michael Andretti. What can you do to hold back Andretti in the onslaught that he's created through 1986?
Oh, I think it'll be very tough. You know, Michael going to be trying hard to pass me, you know, from the beginning, from the start of the race. And it is a long race. I hope I can do well today.
Well, we'll be watching him from down in the pits with the entire Patrick Racing team. Let's go back up to the tower and Bob Jenkins.
All right, thank you, Jack. We look forward to your reports from the pit area. One driver who will be starting in 17th position because of an incident during qualifying yesterday, Johnny Rutherford. His car made contact with the wall. The front end of the car was heavily damaged. However, the crew has worked all night, and they have that car ready. Johnny Rutherford is ready to go in this 200-miler. And it's all being brought to you by Budweiser Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By today's Chevrolet, who invite you to live the style, performance, and fun of Chevrolet in '86. And by Pennzoil Motor Oil, quality protection. Ask for it. We'll be back to take a look at the 21-car starting lineup and begin the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 from Portland International Raceway in a moment. A brief overview of this course they'll be competing on is just less than 2 miles in length. There are 9 turns, 6 right-handers and 3 left-handers. The front stretch is 2,700 feet long and the back stretch is 2,400 feet long. And there is a chicane at the end of the front stretch, and that may cause some problems at the start of the race. Derek Daly, our cohort here in the booth here, finished 4th at this race in 1984. He's a better look at this course.
Today we will give you the course description in a rather unique way. What we'll do is we'll use the actual camera positions that you, the viewers at home, will see. The first camera we use is camera 1. This is on turn 9, which is the right-hand second gear corner at the end of the lap. The cars accelerate up to 5th gear along the front straight, where camera 3 then picks them up. This is a 172 mile an hour front straight. The cars come along here, get on the brakes, down to 3rd gear, and through this very fast right, left, right flick chicane. We then go to camera 4 that picks the cars going in through the infield, which is turn 1, 2, and 3. This is turn 1, a short acceleration, down to turn 2. Still the cars in 3rd gear. They then accelerate on the brakes again down to 2nd gear for this double apex 2nd gear left-hand turn. We then go to camera 5 that picks the cars coming into turn 5. This is a 2nd gear right-hand turn, probably the most important corner on the circuit. We then accelerate along the back straight where camera 6 picks the cars up just here, up to 5th gear, along this bumpy back straight. We then go down to camera 7, picks the cars up under braking. They're down to 4th gear, go through this very fast left-right flick. We then come back to camera 1, which takes the cars again through turn 9, this 2nd gear right-hand turn.
Derek Daly with a description of the course. Now let's meet the 21 drivers and cars that will make up the grid for the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 here at Portland. Starting in pole position in the Marlboro March, car number 20 qualifying at 94.084 miles an hour, Emerson Fittipaldi. On the outside of the front row, in car number 18, the Craco STP Lean Machine March will be Michael Andretti from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. In row number 2, car number 2, Roberto Guerrero and the True Value Emerson March. Outside of the second row for today's race will be the number 4 Miller American March, crewed by Roger Penske and driven by Danny Sullivan. In the third row will be Raul Boesel in car number 22, the Copper Top Duracell Lola. On the outside of row number 3 will be car number 30, the Domino's Pizza Hot One Lola, driven by Al Unser Jr. from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Then going in row number 4 on the inside, the Newman Haas Lola. Car number 5 driven by Mario Andretti. And outside of the fourth row will be Bobby Rahal from Dublin, Ohio, and the Budweiser True Sports March car number 3. The fifth row consists of Rick Mears in the number 1 Pennzoil Z7 March. Outside of the fifth row will be Jeff Brabham in car number 8. The field comes off of corner number 9, looking for a green, and the green flag is out. The Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 is underway. And a puff of smoke there from someone. It could have been braking. We watched them go into the chicane, and everybody trying to get through there in good shape. It looks like everybody has survived, perhaps some tires off the course, but everybody hanging on and not spinning. Now they go into corner number 1, the long right-hander. It appears as if Michael Andretti has gotten into the lead here in the early stages of this race. Now they're into corners number 3 and 4. Before long, they will be heading down the long 2,400-foot backstretch, and speeds will increase to well over 120 or 30 miles an hour. Guerrero has gotten second place. And Emerson Fittipaldi, the pole sitter, it appears, has dropped back to at least 4th position. Now they are on that long back straightaway. There's Michael Andretti leading, followed by Roberto Guerrero running in 2nd position. They're in corner number 9, about to complete lap number 1. And as they come off the corner and accelerate down the main straightaway, we'll tell you how they're running. It's Michael Andretti in 1st position, then Roberto Guerrero 2nd, Danny Sullivan, Emerson Fittipaldi, Bobby Rahal, Little Al, and Raul Boesel.
A very, very good start by Guerrero. He jumped away from that 2nd row starting position. Emerson Fittipaldi did try and get the jump on Michael. He must have missed a gear or something, because he went right from the front row to 4th position. So not a very good start for Emerson. But Emerson is the king of being consistent, so he'll be happy enough just to sit there in that 4th position for the moment.
We'll give you the rest of the lineup. Roberto Moreno and Kevin Kogan in the 6th row. Villeneuve and Pim started in row 7th. Jose Legarza and Tom Sneva in the 8th row. The 9th row was Johnny Rutherford and Randy Lanier. 10th row, Dominic Dobson and Mike Nish. And starting in 21st position all alone, the promoter's option, Dale Coyne. The cars are on their 2nd lap down the backstretch. We're watching Emerson Fittipaldi, who's running in 4th position after having grabbed the pole for today's race in the rain yesterday.
Michael Andretti just beginning to put a little bit of daylight between himself and Guerrero and Sullivan. Not unexpected, because Michael is very much the superstar combination with this new Craco team this year. He was very, very quick in the wet and the dry. The wet, he was just 2nd fastest. He told me after the practice that he screwed up a little bit, made a change, and didn't quite get the dry line that was becoming during the wet session. So he was always very happy with his dry settings in the car, and he shows it here by being comfortably in the lead.
Well, it was a good, safe start as they went into the chicane. Some cars went through there 2 abreast, but everybody survived. And I would think that has to be a tough assignment right after you get the green to negotiate that chicane here, Derek.
Particularly with this 3rd gear chicane, because it's fast enough that you think if you can just get the jump on a guy, you can get through there and get away. And everybody makes their mind up almost exactly how they're going to do the first lap, and they visualize how they can get through that ahead of the man beside him. But luckily we had no bumps and no traumas, and everybody was safe.
Speaking of bumps, you mentioned during the course description the backstretch, which in past years was very bumpy. However, they have done extensive work over the past year to repave that backstretch, and it's really pretty smooth now. And I think the only reason that we didn't see a new record here in qualifying was because of the very poor weather conditions that we had.
That's right. Michael Andretti is now 3.7 seconds in the lead and is increasing all the time. Roberto Guerrero, who was extremely happy with the handling of his car in the dry weather conditions, looks as if he's not quite able to hang on, but I think he'll be happy with the 2nd position at the moment.
Roberto Guerrero running in 2nd. There is the leader, Michael Andretti. Just about to go on to the backstretch once again. We have completed 3 laps here in this 104-lap race, consisting of 200 miles. The course just a little less than 2 miles in length. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd right there. There's Danny Sullivan, who is running in 3rd position. And Derek, you expressed the opinion before the race that started as Dale Coyne has slowed and looks like is going to pull off of the race course. Dale Coyne in car number 19. He was the promoter's option. This is at the chicane. So if he parks that car on the course, we may have a yellow, but it appears as if he is pulling well off the course, so there will be no yellow in that particular portion of the racetrack. Dale Coyne retires and apparently becomes the first car out of the race. Michael Andretti is the leader. It's a engine problem that apparently has caused Dale to pull off of the racetrack. And Derek, you expressed the opinion you thought that Danny Sullivan, who is 3rd right now, is going to be very strong today.
That's right. On the full tank run, which was yesterday afternoon, after all qualifying was over, everybody ran in the dry conditions. Everybody had full tanks, and I went out on the back straight, the end of the back straight, to watch the cars, and Sullivan was visually the fastest and most aggressive driver there. So I expect him to be, I thought he'd be the front runner almost instantly, but I think he will be very, very strong all through this race.
Well, it appears as if he is closing in the distance between himself and Roberto Guerrero, running in 2nd position. Danny Sullivan from Louisville, Kentucky, the 1985 winner of the Indianapolis 500, running 3rd here. Behind him is Emerson Fittipaldi in 4th place. In 5th position is Bobby Rahal. 6th is Al Unser Jr. 7th is Raul Boesel. In 8th position is Jeff Brabham. In 9th is Mario Andretti. 10th position at the moment belongs to Rick Mears. And there's an interesting story in that Brabham car, who is running in 8th position right now. That is a Honda engine. We'll talk more about that as the race progresses. Danny Sullivan running 3rd.
You just saw Danny clip the curb on that chicane, and they've changed that curbing situation from last year when too many cars ran literally over the curbs and dragged some sand and stones onto the track. Now they've actually put speed bumps on the entry, the middle, and the exit, so to keep these cars on the track at all times. The little bit you saw Danny run over there, that's about as much as they would dare to risk to run over, because they would just break the car on the speed bumps.
It does affect the handling of the car when you go over those speed bumps at high speed?
It would affect it if it was the loaded side, but usually it's the unloaded side of the car that they will actually put on the curbs.
All right, running in 6th position here is Al Unser Jr. in car number 30. Al, of course, began this race in 6th starting position, so he's running the same place he started, and Raul Boesel. And here's a driver that we perhaps were expecting to see some great things of, because he's an experienced road racer and experienced running in the wet conditions yesterday. Qualified very well, was 5th fastest on the grid. Raul right now is running in 7th position, but
making a nice pass on Bobby Rahal there. I spoke to Raul this morning, and he was very, very happy with the car. He said the main thing that slows him down is just his own experience sorting out this car properly. He was very fast, as we said, in the wet. He was 5th fastest, the fastest Lola in the grid. But I think the future looks very bright for Raul in his first full season as an IndyCar driver, driving with Dick Simon.
Some side-by-side racing going on here, and the problem is that Bobby Rahal is off the pace. He is being passed by several cars. There goes Kevin Cogan to the outside and to pass Bobby, and there is Tom Sneva also right there, too. So it appears as if Bobby Rahal, who was in 9th position, or make that 6th position, is falling back somewhat.
Rahal has never finished well here. He qualified 5th in '85, but he's never managed to finish well here. The Indianapolis 500 champion of this year, this is not going to be his day.
And it also appears as if Emerson Fittipaldi may be having some problems. We get the word that he may be experiencing some clutch difficulty, so we'll watch for that. Bobby Rahal is coming into the pitch. As he came off of corner number 9, he swings into the pit area. Here is Jack Arute.
Bobby Rahal brings his Budweiser True Sports entry into the pits. Definitely an unexpected pit stop. They take a look. They've got to bring it over to get the jack up. That was a costly move. They're looking underneath the side trays, and now they're saying toot fini. Turn it off. We'll get a word with Bobby Rahal in a moment and be back to you.
A very unfortunate race for Bobby Rahal from Dublin, Ohio, and of course he has experienced some very sad moments this past week because his car owner Jim Truman passed away last Wednesday night. We'll tell you more about that as the race progresses, but it's going to be an early out for Bobby Rahal. He just simply came into the pits, turned off the engine, and that is it. Now we have the Skull cars running together out there on the racetrack, Tom Sneva and Ed Pym. The leader of our event is Michael Andretti, and we'll be back with more of our live coverage right after this.
Back at Portland International Raceway. First out today is the guy that won the Indianapolis 500. Not where you want to be, Bobby Rahal.
No, we had a real good start. I think we were 5th, got up from, 8th, I guess, and car was handling pretty good. But engine started to vibrate pretty early on, and then I think it must have blown a rear seal because the clutch started slipping, and, at that point, why bother?
When do you put this one out of your mind now? Do you just look on to the next one? Do you just cancel this whole weekend off?
What weekend?
That's the story from the pits, a real driver.
Bobby Rahal, the winner of this year's Indianapolis 500-mile race. Last weekend was not especially good for him either, as he finished outside of the top 5. He was 6th, but really struggled all day. Bobby Rahal completed 7 laps of this event here today. It's about a 5-second lead that Michael Andretti has over Roberto Guerrero and Danny Sullivan.
Michael almost makes leading and winning look easy at the moment, which is usually the case when everything is right. There's no magic to winning these races. You just have to have every ingredient right with the team. And I spoke to Michael earlier on today, and he said the biggest advantage he has is he just comes in, talks to his engineer, Adrian Newey, just tells Adrian what he needs and what the car does. Adrian makes a couple of adjustments, and sure enough, he goes out and goes faster. So the whole team makes everything look easy, and consequently, the results come on the track.
You can see the interval there between 2nd and 3rd position, as Danny Sullivan is not too far behind Roberto Guerrero, but Michael Andretti has opened up about a 5-second lead over Guerrero here in the early stages. 28 cars began this event last year, only 11 finished. Attrition was quite high last year. Derek, do you expect the same here in this race?
It's very hard to tell the attrition rate on races like this. I think past history will suggest, yes, that it will be very hard on the cars. The reason Portland is hard on the cars is the long acceleration out of the two ends of the circuit. The second gear right-hander onto the front straight, and the second gear right-hander onto the back straight. That long, hard acceleration is what strains these cars to the breaking point.
Interval between first and second there. You can see how Michael Andretti is beginning to stretch it out. What a great year he is having. There he is.
Moving through corner number 5
onto the backstretch, and here comes
Roberto Guerrero.
Through the same set of corners and onto the backstretch. Danny Sullivan is the number 4 car that's right behind Roberto Guerrero.
This is Roberto Moreno and Tom Sneva. Now, Tom Sneva, he was in 16th starting position, which was in the wet qualifying, and that did not represent the speed that Tom could go in the dry, because on full tanks in the dry yesterday afternoon, Tom was in the top 6. So we did expect a bit of a charge from this man. And here he is now running in, he is now in,
I believe he's 13th.
13th position. So Tom is making a bit of a move.
There is Sneva moving through corner number 8, now through corner number 9 and onto the main straightaway once again. Tom Sneva from Paradise Valley, Arizona, running in 13th position after qualifying
16th fastest at
87.016, about 7 miles an hour off of the pole speed. Well, Emerson Fittipaldi going very slowly on the racetrack. Perhaps Jack Arute can tell us more.
Well, what we were going to tell you about, gentlemen, was the conservative driving style of Emerson Fittipaldi for the start of the race, and we think we knew why, but if he's slowing that far down, there could be further problems. We checked with Pat Patrick, and he said, we're running conservatively, but here's what I learned earlier before the start of the race. They were huddled in conversation, deciding that they were indeed going to start this race to go for only 2 pit stops. Most other teams want to go for 3, so it could be that he's out of the throttle just a bit, turn the boost down, trying to wait until about lap 35 or 40, then turn the heat on and see how much fuel he's got.
Well, he's running in 4th position and really not losing much ground, but at the same time, he's not gaining anything. He's about 10 seconds behind the leader, Michael Andretti, but for MO, perhaps that's exactly what the strategy is, just to play it conservatively and wait to see what happens in front of you.
With the mileage that Emerson has under his belt, if you include his Formula 1 racing, he is probably one of the most experienced people out there on the track today, and he is the master of being consistent.
Dominic Dobson in car number 24, the leader car machine, crewed by A.J. Watson, is in the pit. You can see some smoke and some vapor rising off of the engine of that car. They're going to take the cover off of it and see if they can find the problem. Dominic Dobson, up from the Super V ranks, handling this machine here this weekend and apparently on all the road courses for the remainder of the kart season.
This, of course, was the car that Gary Bettenhausen drove so well at the Indianapolis 500.
There once again is Michael Andretti going through the chicane. It's about a 6-second lead for Michael over Roberto Guerrero. 3rd is Danny Sullivan, and 4th is the number 20 car of Emerson Fittipaldi. We'll be right back. International Raceway, where Roberto Moreno has had an engine let go just past the chicane, and he is already out of the car, walking dejectedly back to the pit area. An early out for Roberto Moreno.
Not a very good weekend for Roberto, because on the second day he had a rear suspension brake on his car coming down the back straight. Didn't do much damage to the car. It gave him a bit of a scare, but the first time he's come to Portland, and not happy memories to take away with him.
There is Moreno, who is taking off the helmet and retiring for the afternoon, and some racing going on out here on the track now, as Rick Mears and Kevin Kogan are running right together on the racetrack, and they are in 9th and 10th position.
Now, Kevin also had a very lowly starting position. He started in 12th, and he wasn't happy with his dry settings, but he said the car was very, very good in the wet. He expects to be able to move up through this field. At the moment, he's running 10th. A bit conservative. We would expect him to move up a little bit more.
Eric, this is the first road race in about 2 months. The last time they won a road course was actually a street race in Long Beach. We've had the Super Speedway in Indianapolis. We've had the mile racetrack at Milwaukee. And now, is there much of an adjustment that a driver has to go through to get himself ready for this kind of a road race?
I think, Bob, it's fair to say that the driver adapts to the situation. It's really the crew chief and the mechanics that have to make the car changes, which are so necessary now, because these cars are so refined and so technical that if the crew doesn't change exactly what's needed, then the driver can't do his job anyway. But I think it's easier for the driver to adapt than it is for the crews to possibly put it all together.
Rick Mears running in 9th position, did not compete here last year because he was recuperating from those injuries suffered at Montreal. We did have an opportunity to talk with Rick earlier in the weekend. Rick, you weren't here last year because you weren't competing on the road courses because of your injury. What do you remember about Portland, and are there any familiarities?
Well, you know, there really are. You know, it's I've always enjoyed the track when we have run here, and I missed it last year, and it feels good to be back on it this year. It's a fun racetrack. It's got some good sliding corners and a couple of quick corners, and you know, a good long straightaway with that dog-leg at the end. And it's a fun racetrack. I'm enjoying it.
In his only previous start here at Portland back in 1984, Rick Mears finished in 10th position. Right now, he is 9th in the chicane.
Ed Pym is the one that seems to be making a bit of a move here in these shots. Ed Pym, who's come up from a low starting position, also now running in 10th position. In fact, now running 9th, has just taken 9th position. Ed Pym in the Pace Electronics Skoal car. This is basically another new look team that ran so well at Indianapolis, was consistently fast in the 2:14 bracket all the time. And Ed Pym is looking for the result that I think that team has and will produce.
We have completed 18 laps of this 104-lap race, and Roberto Guerrero and Danny Sullivan are going at it out there on the racetrack. There you can see Danny Sullivan moving to the inside and lapping one of the back markers as he is really putting the pressure now on Roberto Guerrero. Guerrero, you'll recall, last year wrecked in this race. He was involved in an incident with Pancho Carter over on the backstretch. But Roberto Guerrero running in 2nd position right now, just a few car lengths ahead of Danny Sullivan.
I think at this stage, Michael Andretti has about a 10-second lead over these two. So the only thing they can hope for is that Michael definitely runs into trouble. They can hope that in the 2 or 3 pit stops, whatever Michael will have, that he will be delayed. But as it looks on the track at the moment, these two, Guerrero and Sullivan, just don't have quite the speed to match Michael Andretti.
What are we looking for as far as pit stops are concerned? Will it be a 2 or 3 pit stop race?
Ideally 2, but it's very, very close. I mean, if it's a hard, tough race all the way, then it may be 3.
Ray Floyd leading the U.S. Open at even par. There you can see the American League baseball scores. Games going on throughout the United States this afternoon as we're bringing you live action from the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 IndyCar race from Portland International Raceway. Part of a big celebration here in Portland associated with the Rose Festival. It's been going on since the latter part of May. This pretty much culminates it. Auto racing, a big part of the celebration. They raced here on this track last week, and of course the big IndyCar race tops it all off here this weekend. And the people of Portland definitely come out and support this race, and they have signed a 5-year deal to come back here and race the next 5 years at Portland. Kevin Kogan still running behind Rick Mears on the course, but Kevin has gotten around Ed Pym, and so he is now in 10th position. Mears is 9th, and in 10th is Kevin Kogan, who finished 2nd at the Indianapolis 500 this year, and of course the very close battle with Bobby Rahal.
Sneaper there handing Kevin Kogan. Sneaper was confident that he was going to be able to move up. He is the oval track expert. He goes to great pains to tell us and show us that he is improving on the road courses. And I think here's Jacques Villeneuve chasing him also for his position. But Sneva very definitely is improving on these road courses.
Well, that is Tom Sneva running back there. Ed Pym, as a matter of fact, has passed Rick Mears, and Ed Pym now runs 9th. Mears is 10th. Kogan is 11th. Tom Sneva is 12th. Jacques Villeneuve in 13th position, and in the 14th spot is Jose Garza.
An interesting thing about Sneva is he still uses his left foot for braking. Now, I say left foot. Road racing and road race drivers use their right foot. Sneva uses his left. I asked him, does he not find this a disadvantage? He said it may be, but he's got 3 pedals and 2 feet. He's not smart enough to change his driving style, and that's exactly what he said to me.
So it is Rick Mears, Kevin Kogan, Tom Sneva, and Jacques Villeneuve running together on this racetrack.
Villeneuve has spent most of the practice session with 35 gallons of fuel on board, so he felt that his race setup was going to be a lot better than his qualifying. The reason he had 35 gallons on was they had such a fuel pickup problem. They couldn't pick up when it got below 35 gallons. So he basically has done all his practice laps full of fuel, which should be to his advantage here now in a race condition.
They're averaging 111.084 miles an hour after the first 20 laps of this race. We are on lap number 21 right now. 111.084. And that is, of course, considerably faster than the qualifying speeds because of yesterday's rain. Now, Kevin Kogan had a notion and looked to the outside of Rick Mears as they came down the straightaway, but he decided to fall back into that position.
We just saw Villeneuve in the left of our picture. In fact, there he is, just shoot by Sneva. Kogan seems to have more grip in the corners than Rick Mears, but doesn't have enough punch down the straight. So I think Kevin's going to have a difficult time trying to pass Rick for the next couple of laps.
We understand that number 22, Raul Boesel, is going slowly on the racetrack, so we might watch for him to be making a pit stop momentarily. Raul Boesel running slowly on the racetrack. There's Jacques Villeneuve in car number 71, the Himmelgarn car.
Jacques running in 13th position. In fact, he's 12th now, having just taken 13th from Sneva, number 33 in the Skull Bandit.
Villeneuve's best performance this year was on the street course at Long Beach, where he finished in 8th position. Last week at Milwaukee, he was 15th. And there is Boesel in car number 22, who is reportedly in 6th position at this time. But our spotters indicate that he is not running quite as quick as he was a few laps ago. But still, at this point, maintaining that 6th position.
He qualified 5th, same position as he qualified at Long Beach, so he is a bit of a road race expert. Now living in Noblesville, Indiana, a neighbor of my own.
There were 2 cars entered by the Dick Simon team this weekend. This one for Raul Boesel. The second one was entered for Chip Robinson, who I'm sure you're familiar with from his Super V days and now his IMSA competition, in which he participates regularly. But they decided not to run the second car, so Chip Robinson's day will come later in an Indy car.
Well, we did have the report that Raul was maybe slowing down, but he seems to be running fine. And that's Jeff Brabham, number 8. Oh, he is running fine. Little bit of a chance to take there to try and pass JR at such close quarters, but he did make it through. Jeff Brabham, number 8, is now beginning to show some form with that Honda engine. Jeff now running in 7th position behind Raul.
It's going to be interesting to see if that Honda engine can go the distance here in this 200-mile race. Jeff seems to think that this is the engine of the future. We'll take a replay at what happened, Derek.
You see him, I would have thought he would have continued down the left-hand side, but he did take a bit of a chance. I think the puff of smoke may have made it look a tiny bit more dramatic for us looking at the TV screen here than it actually was. But Raul did get safely by and is still running in his 6th position. Here is the Honda engine of Jeff Brabham, number 8, just behind him. Now the Honda, when we all heard that the Honda was going to come, you thought, well, it'll be as good as its F1 engine and it'll clean up, but they have had a lot of trouble with reliability. But this car and engine package, in fact, although it's a Lola, it is completely changed. The Gallus team, with their own pit, with their own wind tunnel, have actually redesigned almost completely the side pods on this car.
Here is Michael Andretti, the leader, dropping to the inside of the racetrack and passing Mike Nish, who started this race back in the last row. So Michael Andretti has a 12-second lead now after 24 laps over Roberto Guerrero. And Michael Andretti looking very, very strong.
Making things look easy. When a driver gets a team and a car and an engine as good as this, it tends to give the driver an enormous amount of confidence. When the driver has confidence, he tends to drive on the edge all the time and be able to maintain the ability to drive on the edge. Therefore, he constantly goes fast.
Michael Andretti has just lapped the 14th place running Jose Legarza, so there are 13 cars now on the lead lap. Back with more of the G.I. Joe's Budweiser 200 after this. The Bermuda Run Country Club near Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's tonight at 7:30 here on ESPN. We're glad you can join us on this beautiful Sunday afternoon in Portland, Oregon, where we're presenting coverage of the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 IndyCar race. And from the drop of the green flag, it's been an all Michael Andretti show. He has opened up an 11-second lead on Roberto Guerrero. Third is Danny Sullivan. In 4th position is Emerson Fittipaldi. 5th is Al Unser Jr. In 6th is Raul Boesel. 7th is Jeff Brabham. 8th position, Mario Andretti. 9th is number 66, Ed Pym. And 10th is Kevin Kogan. The interval still between first and second is what we're looking for. Michael Andretti passed a few seconds ago. Now, here comes the second place Roberto Guerrero, and it is about 11.5-second lead. So Michael is continuing to open up the interval.
This is Roberto Guerrero that we just looked at there. Roberto's never finished here, so he is looking for his first finish. In the 2 starts, he's never finished here.
Michael Andretti from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, won the most recent race at Milwaukee. He was 6th in the Indianapolis 500, won at Long Beach, and finished 15th in the season opener at Phoenix, Arizona. And right now he is the PPG IndyCar World Series points leader going into today's event.
There is something flapping in Michael's cockpit. It's just at the bottom of his helmet. Now, I think it's actually the piece of his uniform. I hope it doesn't cause him any trouble, but we can see it flapping every time he comes up that front straightaway.
We'll watch and see if that is a problem for Michael. It certainly doesn't appear to be at this point, because that car continues to run very, very strong out there. Well, we had an opportunity to have a conversation with Michael Andretti earlier in the weekend and get his reasoning on why the team is so strong.
What do you contribute the success to? Is it the fact that Craco is only a one-car team this year?
That's one of the main factors, I'd say. And also Barry Green and Adrian Newey, those 2 guys have turned this team around and made it a first-class team, and give most of the credit to them.
Michael Andretti about to lap another car as they go into the chicane once again.
We can see the little helmet skirt, or the top of the uniform flapping there. I think it's out of sight, out of his line of sight, so I don't think it will bother him at all.
Last week we were on the oval at Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and these crews, after that race was over, had to load everything in the truck and make the long haul out here to Portland. Would that have a serious effect on how the cars perform, in that they just did not have a lot of preparation time for this race?
I think what it does, Bob, is it gives an advantage to the very well-prepared teams, because they can turn around these cars. There's Jose Garza running very slow. It looks as if his day is over.
Jose Garza slowing down on the racetrack in car number 55. An unfortunate situation for him. Meanwhile, Kevin Kogan is coming in for a pit stop. Jose Garza started this race in the 15th position. There is Kevin Kogan, who has come in for a stop. It appears to be a routine stop. They are putting fuel in the car and changing the rubber. The right front is going on. The left rear also going on. They've completed the refueling process. And the left rear now seated, and Kevin Kogan is pushed away and goes back out onto the racetrack. So he is the first of the drivers that were running in the top 10 to make the first pit stop.
Kevin is now a lap down, because that's 4th place Emerson Fittipaldi just flying by him there. I think obviously an unscheduled stop. Kevin would have liked to stay a little bit longer, but I think his handling probably just wasn't what he wanted. So he figured get in for new tires and get back out with a faster and better handling car. What we spoke about earlier on, Bob, was the rush between these races, you know, consecutive weekends, but 3 weekends in a row. We were saying the better organized teams, the better finance teams have an advantage, because they tend to have more spares, more engines, and more people to turn these cars around quicker.
There is Johnny Rutherford in car number 21, and it's pretty obvious that his accident yesterday may have caused some handling problems with that car. It's just not up to speed and not competitive today. Johnny Rutherford, who has done very well in IndyCar racing this year, is not going to have a real superlative finish here this weekend.
Here we have Rick Mears being chased, being hounded by Jacques Villeneuve. Rick's only had 1 finish here. He finished 10th at 84. Didn't race last year because of his injuries. Jacques Villeneuve, in a full season this year with the Hemmelgarn team, obviously moved away from the Canadian Tire team, which was built basically around him and gave him his first IndyCar win at Elkhart Lake last year. So Jacques Villeneuve looking for a good result here.
Still averaging right around 110 miles an hour in this race, which is considerably faster than they qualified, of course, in the rain. There you can see Villeneuve with perhaps getting on the brakes just a little hard, and the rear end almost breaking away, but he gathers it in and holds it there in turn number 9, and then accelerates coming down the straightaway.
Just behind them is Tom Sneva in the 11th position, and Tom is just about to be lapped by Michael Andretti. So Michael Andretti is about to put a lap right down to 10th position.
And Ed Pim, who was running very strong, also came into the pits for a stop. And here is our leader, Michael Andretti.
who has come in for a pit stop. The refueling process going on, the tires being changed. Michael waiting patiently in that car. The jacks are down, and they push him away. A good stop for Michael Andretti, but he does relinquish the lead to Roberto Guerrero.
There's an example of the good team. It looked easy. He was just straight in, got his tires, got his fuel, whatever he wanted, and straight back out again. Makes it look easy. That's the mark of a true professional, well-organized team.
We were mentioning that Ed Pym, who was running in the top 10, also made a pit stop, as has Tom Sneva and Randy Lanier. But the new leader is Roberto Guerrero in car number 2. Roberto started the race from 3rd position, has been running 2nd since the drop of the green flag, but now with the pit stop by Michael Andretti, Roberto Guerrero has gone into the lead, and we'll see if he comes in for a pit stop this time. If they do enter the pits, you will notice them drop low on the track in corner number 9. However, he decides to stay out. There isn't much of an interval between himself and Danny Sullivan, as Sullivan continues to be right there with Roberto Guerrero.
Roberto has had this confident air about himself all weekend. He goes around on his little motorbike in the pit lane. He's got that little smile on his face. You ask him how's the car. He says fine. He's just got a little glint in his eye. I think he knew he was going to do well this weekend. And although he got the lead because Michael dropped in the pits, it's still a great confidence booster to think that you're out ahead of the pack leading this race.
Well, Danny Sullivan continuing to run in 2nd place here. He has not had especially good luck here at Portland. He finished 23rd in 1984 and 27th last year after his win at Indianapolis. As far as this season is concerned, his best finish has been a 6th. But nevertheless, this driver for the Penske Racing Team is very confident that things will turn around for him. The Penske team involved in a little bit of experimentation this year, not only with chassis, they're trying the PC-15, but also, as the leader, Roberto Guerrero, comes in, they're experimenting, of course, with the Ilmor Chevy engine. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Roberto Guerrero has brought his car into the pits. They're going to change 3 tires all the way around. A slight problem on the right rear with the jack, but they've maybe with the lug wrench, but they've been able to solve that. It's going to be a very good pit stop. They're taking out a full load of fuel. Atypical of the pit action down here in this first series of stops, gentlemen. We checked with the Patrick Racing Team. They also had very good stops. The reason for Kevin Kogan coming in as early as he did, he thought he heard the engine sputter, as if maybe there was a fuel problem.
Roberto Guerrero now back out on the racetrack, but the lead is held at this point by Danny Sullivan, and here he is on the backstretch. We do anticipate Danny Sullivan's pit stop coming up. He's in corner number 9. Watch for him to drop low on the racetrack, stay toward the inside, and that's where he'll go if he decides to pit, and that is the situation. Danny Sullivan relinquishes the lead, and he comes in for his first pit stop of the day. And once again, Jack Arute is in the Danny Sullivan pit.
The Roger Penske crew goes to work on Danny Sullivan, 1985 Indianapolis 500 winner. They've run, as you said, Bob Jenkins, very well. They were the fastest in the last practice. They're not making many major adjustments to the car, just taking on fuel, changing tires, and they'll be off and away.
A good stop. The jack's down, and you can hear him squealing the tires and blasting out of the pit area back onto the race course. Danny Sullivan is back in the race now. The lead goes back to, we believe, Al Unser Jr. is in the lead right now. He has not pitted yet, and that's the reason why he is in the lead.
We saw the pit stop by Danny Sullivan. No matter how quick it is, they still have to have 14 or 15 seconds to get the fuel in. Now, those of you that are Formula 1 fans, they see pit stops in Formula 1 of 6 and 7 seconds when they change all 4 tires. Well, the reasons that's faster is, A, Indy cars have 5 people over the wall. Formula 1 has as many as you like. Formula 1 don't put fuel in. It takes the 14 seconds for the fuel to actually flow from a restricted hose into this fuel tank.
Trouble for the Penske team as Rick Mears has come in for his 2nd stop in 2 laps, and it does not look good for Rick Mears. The mechanics are looking over the car. They're working there at the rear end of the machine, but it looks like it could be all over for Rick Mears.
The board you saw from Kevin Kogan that read 017, that's the pit board that their crew will give him every lap he goes by. What that means is that his last lap was 1 minute 1.7, 60.7, 017. So that's just a little bit of information that the team have now passed on to Kevin.
We're watching Al Unser Jr. in car number 30. And for a time, timing and scoring indicated to us that Al Unser Jr. was the leader. However, in a recheck, and we believe that Michael Andretti is back in the lead in car number 18. Unofficially, Danny Sullivan running in second position. Then Roberto Guerrero is third. And fourth is Emerson Fittipaldi. So they're basically running in the same way that they were before we had our first series of pit stops. The exception is Sullivan now second, and Roberto Guerrero drops to third place. That's the situation with 36 out of 104 laps completed. Back with more in a moment from Portland, Oregon.
Another top runner that's out of the race. Transmission problems for Rick Mears.
Yeah, the Pennzoil car was working pretty good. We were just rolling along trying to conserve some fuel and see how the race was going to pan out, and evidently something broke on dog ring or something in fifth gear or something. They just cut loose on me. So,
Rick, taking a look at the rest of the cars that are out there, is Michael Andretti that superior to everybody, or is it just the brakes thus far?
Well, I don't know. Where I was running from the start, I never did really see much of Michael, so it's hard to say, but evidently he's running pretty strong.
How about the track conditions? Are they suitable right now?
Yeah, the track seemed pretty good. I felt like I was a little slippery, whether it was just me or the track or what, I don't know. I was a little bit slippery and I was having to fight it a little bit, but the track seems pretty good.
Now, Derek, this is about the hottest that these competitors have been running these cars all weekend. It's getting right up there in the humidity and the temperature, isn't it?
Yeah, it is getting warm. I didn't really notice it so much in the car as much as I thought I would, and you know, now whether that's making the track a little bit slippery or not, that could be part of it.
Well, it could be a gamble right now in terms of setup. We'll have to see who's got the best.
All right, in the lead is Michael Andretti. Second, Danny Sullivan. Third is Roberto Guerrero. Fourth, Emerson Fittipaldi. And fifth is Al Unser Jr. Battling for sixth and seventh position, Jeff Brabham in car number 8 and Mario Andretti in car number 5. And again, we mentioned to you that the Brabham car is powered by a Honda engine, and of course the Honda engine came off with a victory earlier today in the Canadian Grand Prix with Nigel Mansell driving. Here in the IndyCar race, the engine also performing very well.
That's right. It's a very interesting car-engine combination. Jeff said it's a much quieter engine to drive. I mean, it's much quieter in the car inside his helmet. There's obviously as much horsepower. You see Mario trying to get a drag away from it here because Jeff was slow following Mike Nish in the Machinist Union car. But he does seem to have enough horsepower to hold Mario off in the straight. But also, the car is different. The Gallus Racing Team have taken this basic Lola, put it in their own wind tunnel, and they've come up with modifications themselves. They've completely redesigned the side pods, the radiator exits and entries, and the radiator size. And they hoped that this would actually produce a little unfair advantage, so to speak, over the rest of the Lolas. But this is the first race the engine has run, and run strongly and run reliably. So maybe this car can develop into a very much a front runner.
You know, the Lolas just haven't been with the program by and large this year, have they, Gary?
It's hard to believe that Mario is down in 7th position, and this is the first time we've mentioned him all day. And he hasn't been on the pace all weekend here. I spoke to Morris Nunn yesterday, his race engineer. And in fairness to the Lola, Morris doesn't think that he is actually extracting maximum speed from the chassis. He thinks he's too new, working with Mario to be able to link together and take all the information and put it all together and get the speed out of the car. So he thinks there's actually more in Mario's Lola in particular than what shows here this weekend.
What a difference a year makes, because last year at this time, Mario won 3 out of 4, and his last win, as a matter of fact, was on this racetrack.
Sometimes you get on a roll, and when things begin to go well, success breeds success. So if Mario had a win, you never know. Well, everything could change.
Andretti, the name Andretti, very much in the news these days in IndyCar racing, but it's not necessarily because of him, it's because of Michael, and we ask him about Michael's success.
I'm very happy for him, yes. I think if I have a downside, I think I have a definite uplift when I look at his situation, and it'd be better if we both had a better situation, but at least he's doing what, at least he's having the success that he's hoping up to now, and I hope he continues. I hope I can be there to just be a thorn on his side before long.
So the Andrettis are running first and and 7th. Michael in the lead and Mario running in 7th position. The average speed after 40 laps, we've completed 109.259 miles an hour. We have had 6 cars drop out of the race. Bobby Rahal was the first out after only 7 laps. Dale Coyne also dropped out. So did Dominic Dobson, Roberto Moreno, Jose Legarza, and Rick Mears. Let's get out to Jack in the pit area.
Bob, when we got done with talking to Rick Mears, we were starting to make our way out of the Penske pits, and we discovered something that we've never, ever seen before. These are electric blankets. They plug them into a 110-volt outlet, and you know what they do with them? They put them over the tires after they come off the racetrack. What they theorize is that by keeping the temperature in the tires, they can keep them up to the handling characteristics that they had when they were on the car. Let me tell you what, in this heat, that's a first. You want to curl up inside one of these?
Well, Jack, we know it's warm down there, but I doubt if you're going to need an electric blanket at least around you for the rest of the afternoon.
Jack, I'll just disagree just for a second on you. You did say that they put the electric blankets on the tires after they come off the car. Of course, they put the electric blankets on the tires before they put them on the car. So they're already warmed up to racing temperature. So when they put the fuel into Rick's car, he can go straight out and stand on it as hard as he did before he came in on the new tires.
That's what confused me. That's what I at first thought was indeed the case. But what I noticed was when Danny Sullivan came into the pits, they pulled a set of tires off of his car and quickly sequestered them inside those blankets. That's what's got me confused.
Jack, I think they're trying to confuse us.
Doesn't take too much.
Doing a great job of it. There's Michael Andretti. He's running right behind Kevin Kogan on the racetrack, who is running in 9th position. So we have 9 cars on the lead lap at this point, and Michael just about to make it 8. Back with our live coverage in just a moment. Daly and Jack Arute, this is Bob Jenkins at Portland International Raceway for the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 IndyCar race. And we're watching 2nd and 3rd. Danny Sullivan in car number 4 and Roberto Guerrero in number 2 running 2nd and 3rd, about 10 seconds behind the leader, Michael Andretti.
Of course, these positions were changed. Roberto was 2nd and Danny 3rd just before that first pit stop. That just showed us how good the Penske crew were. They got Danny in and out probably 3 seconds quicker than Roberto, enough just to give him the edge and to put him ahead on the circuit where it counts.
Well, as you can see, Ray Floyd still has a lead in the U.S. Open. He's now 1 under par. The American League Baseball scores being shown for you on our 28:58 update. Chicago leading Kansas City Seattle 3-0 in the 5th inning. Now the Major League National League scores for you. Johnny Rutherford is in the pit area while we watch Roberto Guerrero out on the racetrack with the 2nd place Danny Sullivan. There is Johnny Rutherford in car number 21, and it appears as if the engine is off in that car and they are going to move it behind the wall. It's been a tough weekend for Johnny Rutherford. He had the problem during qualifying yesterday, hit the wall and damaged the car. They worked and got it repaired. He started 17th, but it appears as if Johnny Rutherford is out of the race.
Guerrero still chasing down Sullivan, still in 3rd position, Sullivan in 2nd. They're now about 9.5 seconds behind Michael Andretti. The gap changes a little bit, goes between 9, 10, and 11 because of the traffic. So Michael won't take any chances, so he's quite prepared to lose a couple of seconds a lap, but he knows he can make it up, and it looks as if he can make it up pretty consistently at the moment.
Back to the Johnny Rutherford story for just a moment. Here is a guy who has been extremely consistent this year. He has finished in the top 10 all 4 races prior to today. He was 5th at Phoenix, 9th at Long Beach, 8th at Indianapolis, and he was 4th at Milwaukee, and very much in the battle for the points championship. But this finish here today is not going to do him any good. There you can see the car has been pushed behind the wall. Johnny is still in it, but a disappointing afternoon for the Fort Worth, Texas driver.
The mechanics of that car did a super job to get it back on the track in as good a condition as it was in, because there was quite heavy damage that we saw earlier on when we opened up the show. When Rutherford did crash in the wet session yesterday, there was quite heavy damage done to the car.
All right, we have 13 cars, make that 14 cars that are still out there on the racetrack. They are Michael Andretti, Danny Sullivan, Roberto Guerrero, Emerson Fittipaldi, Al Unser Jr., Jeff Brabham, Mario Andretti, Raul Boesel, Kevin Kogan, Tom Sneva, Ed Pym, Jacques Villeneuve, Randy Lanier is still out there in competition. So is Mike Nish. Everybody else has dropped out of the event. The most recent, Johnny Rutherford.
We have something interesting. Our timer here in the booth with us has timed the last 5 laps for Michael Andretti, and the gap is coming down. It's gone 11.7, 11, 10.4, 9.6, 8.5, and it's down. It's now down to I think it's 8.1. 8.1. It's just come up on our data speed. 8.1. I don't think Michael Andretti's car sounds right. Maybe Jack Arute can get down to the Craco pit as soon as he can. I think there's something wrong with Michael Andretti.
Well, you could very well be right, because as you indicated, there has been about a 3-second change between first and second, as it was about 11 seconds, and now it could be down next lap to under 8. Here comes Michael now through the series of corners 5 and 6, and on to the long backstretch. And we'll see if the interval changes this next time around, and whether indeed Michael Andretti may be having problems with that car. He flashes through the frame. There goes Kevin Kogan, who has already been lapped in 8th position. Michael comes off of corner number 9 and completes lap number 49. We are almost halfway through this race. There is Michael crossing the line, and in just a moment, we'll be able to tell you when Danny Sullivan crosses the line, to tell you if indeed the interval changed. Yes, it did. It's down to 7.4 seconds. So either Sullivan is speeding up, or we believe the situation to be Michael Andretti not running quite as fast as he was earlier.
Jack Arute is making his way down there, I know, but it just doesn't quite sound right. The engine doesn't sound as crisp as it has been every time it's gone by us in the front straight here.
Here is Danny Sullivan driving the March here this weekend. The PC-15, the Penske chassis that was competed at Indianapolis with Al Unser Sr. will be back later in the year, but for this weekend, Penske is going with the Marches.
This could make it a very interesting race. The gap is still coming down, and Guerrero is still there handling Sullivan. So this is definitely working itself into being quite a battle.
Here is Michael once again on the main straightaway, crossing the line. Raul Boesel and Kevin Kogan are between Andretti and second place Danny Sullivan and Roberto Guerrero. Here they come through the chicane. That's Raul Boesel and Kevin Kogan. There is Danny Sullivan in second, and the lead continues to go down, as it's now a 6.8 second advantage for Michael Andretti.
We can see in these pictures that he's driving the car as hard as he can, because he's getting the tail to flick out. He's hard on the power as quick as he can. Exiting turn 5 here, he always just gets the tail to flick out just a little bit. So he is actually driving that car still as hard as he possibly can.
Well, Danny Sullivan, despite the fact that he didn't have a good finish here last year, did sit on the pole for this race. As a matter of fact, he led the first 5 laps, but then dropped out of competition. So we have now Jack Arute down in the Michael Andretti pits. Jack, what can you tell us about this situation?
Well, Bob, we just got done talking to Barry Green, the crew chief on Michael Andretti's car, and in the mark of a true championship team, he said, we really don't have any problems. What we've done is we've turned the boost back. It's a long way to go. We want to conserve fuel. So I then quizzed him, as Derek had said. I said, it sounds like the engine is missing just a bit. He said, well, they haven't reported that to us.
Oh, well, all right. We'll see what happens. It's actually back up now to about 7.6 seconds. And Raul Boesel, who was running in the top 10, has come in for a pit stop. He was reported to be running slowly on the racetrack. Raul Boesel in the Dick Simon car is in for a pit stop. We'll be right back with more from Portland, Oregon. Stay with us.
Our Napa mid-race recap shows that as we have completed more than the 102 laps that make up the 104 laps rather that make up this race, the leader at the halfway point was Michael Andretti. He had led 50 laps, the margin about 1 second. 55 minutes and 35 seconds the time of the race to that point. We had 4 different leaders at that time. Average speed 109.34 miles an hour. We had no overall cautions, and 7 cars on the lead lap, with a total of 14 cars still out there on the racetrack competing. The cars out of the race: Dale Coyne, Bobby Rahal, Dominic Dobson, Roberto Moreno, Rick Mears, Jose Le Garza, and Johnny Rutherford, the most recent to drop out after 42 laps. A big day of auto racing in the North American continent, as earlier today on ESPN at 11:50 Eastern Daylight Time, you saw the Canadian Grand Prix with Larry Nuber and John Bizignano. That race was won by Nigel Mansell. Finishing in second was Alain Prost. Nelson Piquet was third, Keke Rosberg fourth, and Ayrton Senna finished that race in 5th position. There was also a big NASCAR Winston Cup race at Michigan International Raceway, where they had the track repaved from last year and some fantastic speeds, qualifying at 172 miles an hour. And Bill Elliott has won his first points-paying race of the year. Of course, he had victories earlier this year in the Atlanta Invitational that we televised for you on ESPN, and he won a Daytona 125 qualifier. But this was his first victory of the year in a points-paying race for Bill Elliott. Harry Gant finished in 2nd position. And resurfacing up there in Michigan, Derek, where unfortunately you had a terrible accident a couple of years ago, could mean speeds well in excess of 220 miles an hour when the Indy cars visit there.
I think usually they get 3 or 4 miles an hour quicker than the Indy qualifying speeds. And if Rick did 217 at Indianapolis, it definitely points to speeds in excess of 220 miles an hour.
The average speed in this race to this point at the 50-lap mark, 109.340 miles an hour. It's been a very consistent speed that we have seen in this race. They started out with an average speed of about 111 miles an hour, but have dropped down to 109 and has stayed there for the last few laps. So very consistent, but a very fast pace being set here by Michael Andretti. The interval between first and second, there you can see it. Here comes Danny Sullivan in second. The second car there in line as Kevin Kogan is between himself and the leader, Michael Andretti. But Danny Sullivan now running about 5.3 seconds behind Michael Andretti, with Roberto Guerrero running third, about 6 seconds behind the leader. In 4th position is Emerson Fittipaldi, and running 5th here at this point is Al Unser Jr. Well, we have observations and reports from Jack Arute now in the pit area.
Well, Derek, let's update you. Remember we were talking and discussing, do you put hot tires or cold tires in the blankets? Well, here's the story. They put both inside. What they're doing with these electric blankets is trying to keep not only the heat, but the pressure inside the tires. I talked to the tire expert here in Danny Sullivan's pit, and you can see them working them over now. They say it takes as much as 1 entire lap around this place to get the tires up to the proper pressure under racing conditions. So, they say we've gone to the electric blankets so that we can maintain that pressure while they're off the car, in case we've got to put them back on.
Jack, we spoke earlier on about Danny possibly picking up 3 seconds in his pit stop. That put him ahead of Roberto Guerrero. I wouldn't mind betting that it was actually the hot tires that gave Danny the advantage. So there's the high-tech world now coming more and more so to Indy cars, and I think that may be just the advantage Danny has.
You know what you talk about that, Derek? Remember Mark Donohue, the driver for Roger Penske in the early days? You know what they used to talk about? The unfair advantage?
Right.
We may have stumbled across one right here.
I think we did.
The leader is working heavy traffic at this point. He's the last car there in this line. Right ahead of him is his father, Mario, and Mario is running in 7th position. We have 7 cars on the lead lap, but Michael will try here on the backstretch perhaps to pass his father. There they go side by side. Michael elects not to pull alongside and pull the pass, at least right now. We'll see what happens. Oh, and look at him sneak to the inside and make a nice move on his father in turn number 9, and he puts his father a lap down. So we have 6 cars now on the lead lap. How about that for Michael saying, watch this, Dad?
I don't think Mario will be impressed at the little tap that Michael obviously gave his father's right front wheel there. I think we'll probably run that back again so you can see. But Michael actually committed himself to go down the inside, maybe a shade too fast, drifted wide, and actually touched the front wheel of Mario's car. I don't think his dad would... we see it here. You see Michael down the inside, completely committed. He hits the curb with his right front wheel, bang, just hits his dad there. I don't think they're the type of lessons his dad taught him.
Now Michael is trying to lap, and as a matter of fact, he already has. He has passed Al Unser Jr. So we have 5 cars now on the lead lap.
And of course, what's happened now is Michael's got caught in traffic. The gap has now come down to 1.9 seconds. So there's Michael, Al Jr. just behind him, but Sullivan and Guerrero are right there now, 1.9 seconds behind.
We'll see if Sullivan and Guerrero have trouble getting through this traffic. If they do not, then This interval between first and second may stay at about the 2-second mark. We watch them come down the main straightaway here. Michael Andretti is the second car in line. That's Kevin Kogan running at the front of the pack, I believe, or is it one of the Gallus cars?
It's one of the Gallus cars, Jeff Brabham in that Honda car, which is just about to be lapped. Now, the traffic cost Michael time. Of course, the traffic is still there, so it will now cost Sullivan and Guerrero some time before they can head off after Michael again.
All right, so Michael Andretti trying to pass the 5th place car of Jeff Brabham at the moment, and there are second and third Danny Sullivan and Roberto Guerrero. And as you can see, they're also having a bit of a problem getting by the slower cars here on this tight 1.9-mile course.
Michael has passed Jeff Brabham in the Honda car. I have to say, that was a very risky move for Michael to do. I think if he was in the same position again, I don't think he'd do that. And I think I remember 2 years ago him putting exactly the same move on Jose Lee Garza, and he hit Jose Lee in the same situation. So I think that's a fairly risky thing for Michael to do.
While we watch third place Roberto Guerrero, we will mention to you that Raul Boesel, who was in the top 10 but came in, is back out there on the track. Apparently it was a water pipe problem that has been fixed, and Raul Boesel is back out there in competition. And the number 12 car of Randy Lanier also has been black flagged, but they came in, tightened the rear wing, and he is back out there on the racetrack. So Michael Andretti is the leader, Sullivan is second, Roberto Guerrero third, and fourth is Emerson Fittipaldi. We lost a great contributor to auto racing this past weekend, our tribute to a great man. Last Wednesday night, auto racing lost one of its most respected participants, car owners, and friends. Jim Truman, owner of the True Sports March that Bobby Rahal drove to victory in this year's Indianapolis 500, lost a 2-year battle with cancer. The Indy win was perhaps the satisfaction of Jim's ultimate goal. The relationship between Rahal and Truman was more than owner-driver.
It's not a typical arrangement by any means. If Bobby were to get hurt or quit tomorrow, I don't know what I necessarily would decide to do at that point, because we've come together.
My feelings about him haven't changed any since he passed away. I felt as strongly about him before his death as I do afterwards, and sure, we're going to miss him. There's no question of that, but we won't forget him, and we're going to do the kind of job that he knew we could do. That's why we were here in the first place, and with his assistance, and even though he's not physically here with us, his spirit carries on.
Jim Truman was successful in all aspects of life. 2 national championships as a driver, owner of the Red Roof Inns motel chain, the largest privately owned chain in the U.S., and of course as car owner. But Jim didn't measure success with dollars, personal achievements, or material possessions.
My version of success is to see how many other people I can help be successful, and it's very gratifying.
Join us here on Father's Day for the G.I. Joe's Budweiser 200 IndyCar race from Portland International Raceway, in a crash involving Roberto Guerrero as he has had contact with another car, and the car almost going over backwards. Roberto had just moved into second position, passing Danny Sullivan when this incident occurred. It's also involving Kevin Kogan. You can see that Roberto ran up over the rear wing, or at least made contact with the rear of the car of Kevin Kogan, and we have a replay of what happened. This could have been a horrible crash, Derek.
Now, there's a good 2 car lengths between Kevin and Roberto here. I can only think that Kevin must have missed a gear, because Roberto literally ran straight into the back of him. So Kogan obviously slowed down, but an enormous accident. Could have been so much trouble here.
That car could have just gone right on over backwards. Fortunately, it did not, but it looks like that it's going to spell the end for both Kevin Kogan and Roberto Guerrero. He's moving down the backstretch, but of course very slowly, as the front suspension has been broken on that car. You can see the left front wheel.
Both cars are still mobile, and Kevin Kogan will be first back to the pits. I'm sure we can get Jackie Root down there, but I'm sure there's no way Roberto could make a mistake like that. I think you'll find Kevin either missed a gear or had some hesitation exiting that pit lane.
Well, there's Kevin Kogan. You can see the damage to the rear wing of his car. They're changing tires, but he's going to be in there, I would imagine, quite a while they get this repair done to the car. Let's go down to Jackie Root, who's in the Kevin Kogan pit.
Well, it is definite. There's a lot of damage. There's oil leaking out of the rear end of the car. Kevin Cogan is sitting in there. The crew, Larry Curry-led crew, is looking it over, but they have killed the engine on the car. They are going to go through the process of changing tires, but from my uneducated eye, Derek Daly and Bob Jenkins, it's just about done. The afternoon for Kevin Cogan.
I would think that is the situation, and a tough break for both of these drivers who were running in the top 10. Roberto was running in second place and having a great afternoon.
So Roberto doesn't finish here again. Now, whatever chance they had of changing Cogan's wing to send him back into the race, there's no way they can repair Guerrero's car, because apart from the damage you see on the left front wheel there, the car was at least 4 feet in the air, and when it landed back down again, that's when most of the structural damage would be done. So that actual front suspension won't be the main damage on that car.
Let's take a look at it once again. You can see that there is quite a bit of interval between Kevin Cogan and Roberto Guerrero as they come off of the chicane, but look what happens now, Derek.
Suddenly Roberto gains on Kevin instantly. I mean, that doesn't happen normally. You see how high he was, 5 or 6 feet in the air with the front of that car. That would have virtually broken the car in half.
So there is the Roberto Guerrero car that is in the pit area, but as you can see, Roberto has already gotten out of the car. They're pushing it behind the wall, and for the second year in a row, Roberto Guerrero retires from competition here at Portland because of an accident. We only have 3 cars that are now on the lead lap. Michael Andretti is the leader. Here is second place Danny Sullivan, and third place Emerson Fittipaldi. So second and third right here, running about 5, 6, 7 car lengths apart.
Here's Mr. Consistent beginning to show right at the head of the pack once again. We alluded to the fact that he may have backed off slightly just at the start, and now he's right up with Sullivan. Sullivan, in fact, is running 9.1 seconds behind Michael Andretti. So maybe Michael did turn the boost down for momentarily, but now he's just turned it back up again and now able to maintain that 9-second gap.
So an unbelievable situation here as an accident has taken out second place Roberto Guerrero and also put on the sidelines Kevin Cogan. Back with more in a moment.
Kevin Cogan has made his way out of his car, and he's here with me now. Kevin, what happened?
Well, we're having some pickup problems getting the fuel, and the car's been starving coming off of several corners, and I've been pitting. I pitted the first time, and I still had about 8 or 9 gallons in the car, and I should have had about 8 or 9 gallons this time, and it started to run out of fuel again.
So then when it sputtered, that closed the gap, and Roberto climbed up your wing.
Yeah, I'm sure. It just when it started to die, he hit me instantly, so he must have been right on my tail when it started to starve. He probably was just a little too close.
Well, that's the story on Kevin Cogan. Let's update you on his teammate, Emerson Fittipaldi. Emo has been in and out of the pits, taken on his fuel and his tires. And, gentlemen, by my calculation, he should, and I say should with quotation marks, be able to go the distance. What about it, Kevin? Do you think he can?
I hope so. You know, what place is he in?
What place? I think he's running second or third.
I hope so. Needs a point.
That's the story, gentlemen.
All right, Jack, and all of the leaders, as a matter of fact, have made their second pit stop. Here is the battle for the lead, we believe, as Sullivan may have the lead now, and Michael Andretti second with Emerson Fittipaldi third. So now we have a contest on our hands. Michael Andretti, who has been so strong all afternoon, has the job of getting around Danny Sullivan here if he wants the lead back. We have completed our second series of pit stops, so we can go now the distance without any additional fuel, at least we think so. And we'll watch Michael try to put the heat on and try to get around Danny Sullivan. He may do it here in the backstretch. Remember, this backstretch has been repaved from last year. It's much smoother, and it gives the drivers a better opportunity to do some passing. Michael can't do it, though, and Danny hangs on to the lead.
Just another point, a final point on the Roberto Guerrero accident. That's the type of situation where a driver is completely committed to the draft behind the car in front of him to maintain the aerodynamic tow. And that accident has absolutely no blame whatsoever on Roberto, although visually it looks as if he drove into the back of Kevin.
By the same token, it wasn't Cogan's fault either, because he was having problems with the car. The fuel just wasn't picking up when he came off the corners.
That's right. So here we have the battle for the lead, and Sullivan is up there, number 4, the Miller American Special, ahead of Michael Andretti. Now, Michael, I think, probably has enough in hand for him to sit behind Danny and not take any chances. You can see Michael takes a much wider turn entering these corners. Danny is going tight and trying to get out of the corners fast. Michael is turning left before he turns right. Makes a much smoother, bigger, wider sweep.
May he be conserving it here and turning down the boost and just staying right on Danny Sullivan until the last 8 or 9 laps?
I think when a driver has a car as good as this, tactics can definitely play a huge role, and he can afford to back off and think about things for a couple of laps, which I think he probably is doing here.
The average speed at the end of 70 laps, we've completed 72 now, 108.436 miles an hour. Very consistent afternoon for the leaders who have been turning laps right around the 108, 109, 110 mile an hour mark. We have had no overall yellows in this race. In fact, very few what we consider to be serious incidents. The most serious, of course, was the Roberto Guerrero and Kevin Kogan incident. Now, there is third place, Emerson Fittipaldi. He's only about 4 seconds behind the leader. As far as our leaders are concerned, we have had Michael leading the first 31 laps. Then Roberto Guerrero led a couple of laps. Danny Sullivan led a couple of laps. Michael Andretti took the lead back, and now Sullivan has it again. 72 laps completed out of 104 that make up this 200-mile race at Portland. We'll be back right after these messages.
Outside of the True Value Hardware Transporter with Roberto Guerrero, and if it wasn't for bad luck, this team would have no luck at all. Roberto, another DNF.
Yeah, it's just too bad, you know. Again, the car was just, you know, the True Value March was just running beautifully, and we were having a heck of a race. I was having a lot of fun, and, you know, it's just too bad. One of these days we're going to get it.
Now, I know this is the first you've probably heard of it. Kevin Kogan reported that he had a fuel pickup problem, and it was as if all of a sudden he said he went through the corner and it just stopped. Quite a surprise for you.
Yeah, I thought that he maybe broke a gear or missed a gear or something. Something happened because he slowed dramatically as I was setting myself up to pass him. So it just didn't leave me much room, unfortunately.
Is it difficult for you to keep a positive mental attitude with the litany of problems that are really not your fault that have befallen the team over the last couple of weeks?
It's tough, but at the same time, we've proven that we're competitive, and our day is going to come.
Well, that's what Dennis Hardy, his ace man here on the side, said before we went on the air. He said, hey, our day in the sunshine will be here shortly, fella.
Roberto Guerrero had a 4th place finish at the Indianapolis 500 this year, was also in the top 10 at Phoenix, but DNFs at Long Beach and an 18th place finish at Milwaukee, and an accident with Kevin Kogan has eliminated him this afternoon. There's your leader, Danny Sullivan, who has almost a 2-second lead now on Michael Andretti. There are 12 cars that are still out there on the racetrack. Let's run them down for you so we can tell you everybody that's still in competition. Danny Sullivan, the leader. Michael Andretti, second. Emerson Fittipaldi is third. 4th place is Mario Andretti. 5th, Al Unser Jr. 6th is Jacques Villeneuve. 7th is Ed Pym. 8th is Tom Sneva. 9th is Jeff Brabham. In 10th position is Randy Lanier. 11th is Mike Nish. And in 12th position is being shown as Roberto Guerrero. So perhaps we have 11 cars that are still out there on the racetrack.
We have a report from the pits that Michael Andretti had in fact turned his boost down to 45 inches. They've now given him the signal. They've now told him to turn it back up again, back up to the 48 inches that they are allowed here. Now Sullivan is leading. Sullivan gained his position over Michael Andretti in a pit stop, just like he gained his position over Roberto Guerrero from 3rd to 2nd earlier on in the race in the pit stop. So Penske's in the pits definitely seem to be have the edge over most of the people here today.
There's the interval between 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, as a matter of fact, as all 3 cars in the shots. There's 2nd place Michael Andretti, and 3rd place Emerson Fittipaldi. Randy Lanier, who's being shown in 10th position, 8 laps off the pace, is running out there on the course without a rear wing. Now, we've heard lots of stories about how wings are smaller on the super speedways because, of course, the more wing you have, the more drag you have. But Randy is choosing to go without a rear wing at all. I imagine it's quite a handful.
He did, in fact, bend it earlier on. We don't know whether he hit something or something hit him or it just broke, but it did actually bend earlier on. In fact, an identical thing happened at Long Beach, and he ended up pitting and taking Roberto Guerrero's wing. So there was 2 True Value rear wings running around. But I really don't think the kart organizers should let him run around out there, because it can only be dangerous at high speed not to have any downforce on the rear.
We're watching Emerson Fittipaldi in car number 20 and 3rd. Now here is the leader, Danny Sullivan from Louisville, Kentucky. About a 2-second lead on Michael Andretti, and it appears as if maybe the interval between second and third is narrowing a little bit, as Emerson Fittipaldi, who was the pole sitter for this race, but who dropped back at the start of the race to about 5th position and appeared at one time to be running well off the pace, has been consistent this afternoon and is still indefinitely in position to win this race.
From what we can see of the last couple of laps, to me, Emerson looks to be the strongest of the 3 people out there. Now, I can't think that Michael still has the boost turned down. I think he has it turned back up again, and Emerson is slowly reeling him in. And of course, Sullivan is not getting away from either of them. So this could be a very, very interesting race.
You know, one thing that Danny Sullivan may be concerned with is staying out in the lead, because, well, Michael Andretti there going wide to pass Randy Lanier. Lanier lead Lanier car without a rear wing.
That's one of the reasons just there why Lanier should not be allowed out on the track, because he is only a danger to himself and to everybody else, not because of the way he drives, but because the way the car cannot possibly handle well at high speeds. And there, if Michael had committed himself to going through, Randy Lanier can't change his line. You could have had a very difficult situation for the second place man.
We were talking about how Danny may want to remain in the lead, because you'll remember Rick Mears made a very clear point during a running of the Indianapolis 500 that his car just did not perform well in traffic. So maybe Danny wants to stay out in the lead, away from traffic, and so the car will perform better.
We did say right at the start of the show that Sullivan looked as if he could be the man. There's going to be the danger man here, because he was very, very quick yesterday evening on full tanks. And here he is at the head of the field, so maybe he was a bit of a sandbagger before this race started.
The lead changed because of pit stops. Michael Andretti was in the lead until the most recent series of pit stops, and when they came out, Danny Sullivan was in the lead and has been able to hold it since then. We have completed 84 laps. Make that 80 laps, 24 to go. And Emerson Fittipaldi may be in serious trouble now.
His day is over. His day is definitely over. We saw a plume of smoke come out the back. He's lifted his visor. There's the hand up. He knows it's over. The engine is now dead. It's just a matter of getting the car off the track so as he doesn't cause a yellow flag situation. So now that puts Mario Andretti up into 3rd position. Mario, who really has not been a competitive factor all weekend, is now up into 3rd position. You see all the smoke begin to come out. That usually happens when there's oil lying around the engine compartment. And of course, these engines run so hot, all in under the engine cover is so hot that as soon as the airflow stops, then everything begins to burn.
The driver who started from pole position, Emerson Fittipaldi, is out of the race. Last year here at Portland, he started 6th and finished 3rd. And aside from his win at the Michigan 500, one of the better performances last year for Emerson, but he just could not keep the car together for the 200 miles here this afternoon.
I think his strategy seemed to be perfect. He was coming on strong just to the right time.
Now we have a real battle for the lead, as once again Michael Andretti has sneaked up on the rear wing of Danny Sullivan, and Michael may be making a bid right here. They come off the corner. They're in corner number 5. Now 6. They look like they're almost touching wheels, and they do! Danny Sullivan crashes into the wall, makes heavy contact as he and Michael touched wheels. Just going on to the back straight at corner number 6. Danny Sullivan has crashed. He is out of the race. I don't know whether there will be any damage to Michael Andretti's machine or not, but boy, Danny took a real shot.
There's a situation where 2 cars needed the one piece of road. Michael tried to go around the outside of Danny, which in a road race is almost impossible to do, but he did try and make it, and both cars accelerated out, touched, and Sullivan is out instantly. Michael Andretti has gone by our position here in the booth. He does sound okay, but we're going to run a replay here and we can have another look. You see Danny's on the right-hand side of the road. The ideal position is to be on the left-hand side for a fast exit. So Michael tries to go around the outside. That's a very risky, difficult move. They now both accelerate together. Danny sees him, pulls over a little bit. Michael is now out of room a little bit. Now there's a left-hand kink. Michael has nowhere to go over the curb. Pushes into Danny. The wheels lock. And Danny's car rides over the front wheel of Michael's car. Danny's quite lucky. He did hit that quite hard, but we do know he is okay because he jumped straight out. But there's a typical situation of 2 cars needing the one piece of road, and when you're battling for the lead, it's very, very difficult to give up.
That car got on 2 wheels before it hit the wall hard, and Michael Andretti appears to have a flat right front tire. or at least something wrong with the suspension. Yes, definitely the right front is flat, and you can see how he's having difficulty braking the car. He does break off of corner number 9 and brings the car into the pit area. And let's see if this is going to be just a situation of changing the tire, where it will be terminal. Here's Jack Arute.
Michael Andretti has pulled his Krakow car into the pits, and it is a tire only, and we qualify that. The right side, the right front, you could see it. It was just totally ripped apart off the rim. They're checking underneath the car, one of the cart officials, to make sure there's no damage. Andretti is down, and he's away. A good stop, but a costly one for Michael Andretti, especially after that crash.
Michael Andretti back out on the racetrack after contact with Danny Sullivan, and Michael maintains the lead. Now running in second position is the other Andretti. Mario is second. Al Unser Jr. becomes our third place runner right now. Tom Sneva is fourth. Jacques Villeneuve in fifth position. Let's see now if this car is going to perform as well as it did before that contact with Danny Sullivan.
I think it will. I don't think he actually made hard contact. Two wheels rubbed together, and Danny's rode over Michael's right front. Michael didn't actually crash into him, didn't actually hit him hard. Danny rode over him. So I think with the tire change, I think he's going to be home and dry now.
But you'll recall 2 years ago in the inaugural race here at Portland International Raceway, Al Unser Jr. won this race, making it a son win on Father's Day. Last year, Mario Andretti, father, won. Here in this race, son Michael Andretti is leading, so the Father's Day type thing could still be a factor here in this race today at Portland.
We spoke earlier on about when you get on a roll, everything goes your way. Well, Guerrero has not been on that roll for a long time, and if anything goes wrong, it will go wrong with him. Twice we've seen Michael crash into cars in this race, and he comes out smelling of the Portland roses.
There is Michael, and the car appears to be still performing okay. Here is second and third position, and they are on the same lap, so battling for that second position. Mario Andretti is in front right now of Al Unser Jr., but only by just about 2 or 3 car lengths.
These are the two Lolas that are left strongly in the field. Lola just hasn't been on the pace here all weekend, but with all the accidents and all the mishaps, we have a March Lola situation in the top 3.
And running in fourth position behind Al Unser Jr. here is Tom Sneva, who is continuing to have a good race. He is currently second in points with 44. Michael Andretti, the leader of the race, is the points leader in the CART PPG IndyCar World Series with 52. Tom Sneva, who is running in fourth position, of course, performing for his sort of hometown crowd here this afternoon. Tom originally from Spokane, Washington. We have completed 85 out of 104 laps here at Portland International Raceway. The lead continues to be held by Michael Andretti. Tom Sneva from Spokane, Washington, in car number 33, Spokane originally, now living in Arizona, doing a fine job in car number 33, the Skoal Bandit. He is in fourth position, about 57 seconds behind the leader, but on the lead lap. And Tom Sneva, as we indicated, is second in points going into this race. His finishes have been a second at Phoenix, a fourth at Long Beach, a very disappointing 33rd place finish at the Indianapolis 500 after he crashed on the pace lap. And he was second last week at Milwaukee, although he did run out of fuel on the very last lap.
He can be the gas man or terrible Tom. Just depends on whatever weekend you catch him on. But Sneva quietly going about an efficient race, road race, performance, just as he's done so many times. He likes us to know that he's getting along with his road racing trick, even though he does use his left foot.
Well, he really is. Performed well on the road courses this year, and his fourth place finish here is going to perhaps keep him in second position. You can see he smoked the tire a little bit, the right front there when he went to the corner. But Sneva in a solid fourth position right now. And Ed Pim, his teammate in car number 66, is running in sixth spot. He is a lap down to the leader, but also a good job for Ed Pim. And Ed Pim is another driver that was schooled and brought along by Jim Truman, whom we told you passed away this past Wednesday night in Dublin, Ohio. Ed Pim, former Super B champion, in sixth place.
This is the new look Pace Electronics Skoal team that has
The the BMW 635 CSI.
They go quietly about their business. Ed came here and was instantly in the top 5 or 6 fastest every time the car ran in dry conditions. So he just wants a nice consistent run here. And they honestly believe and they honestly feel that their day is on the way. Their day will come for the sunshine.
Well, I believe it will. I'm not sure whether it's going to be this year, but it's very obvious that Ed Pim in his IndyCar career has made great strides. We kind of wait for Michigan International Raceway when we talk about Ed Pim because he has performed so well at that racetrack in both races last year. Jacques Villeneuve in car number 71 is running in 5th position. He's also a lap down to the leader, but a good run for Jacques this afternoon, who began this race back in 13th position.
Jacques, in fact, is a 3-time world snowmobile champion. 1980, 81, and in fact, last year, 85, he won the snowmobile world championship. He's also a Can-Am champion from 1983. One IndyCar win, Elkhart Lake last year when he ran the Canadian Tire team. But Jacques Villeneuve, by far his best position and his best race for quite some time.
Jacques Villeneuve is the full-time driver for this team this year. Scott Brayton was thought of as perhaps the oval track driver this year, but it appears as if Jacques is going to handle all the races this year, both on road courses and on the ovals and the road courses both. There is Michael Andretti, who is about 10 seconds now in front of Mario Andretti.
I think because the March was just that little bit superior to the Lolas all weekend, I think Michael can run a very, very consistent pace now and still maintain that 10-second lead. So I would imagine the boost may just be turned back down again to 45 inches.
Second and third, Mario there in the red Newman Haas car, and not too far behind him is Al Unser Jr. in the Domino's Pizza Hot One Shearson Racing Team Lola in third position, about 11 seconds behind the leader. We have completed now 90 laps, and we have 14 more to go before the checkered flag falls. Will it be Michael Andretti or someone else? Well, we'll be back in just a moment to answer. Bob Jenkins, Jack Arute, and Derek Daly back at Portland International Raceway for the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200, and we are nearing the final stages of this race. We've got about 12 more laps to go. At the moment, Michael Andretti is leading by about 10 seconds over Mario Andretti. Al Unser Jr. is third. Fourth place is Tom Sneva. Let's go down to Jack Arute for more on this boost situation that we've been talking about the last few minutes. Jack?
Well, Bob, Derek Daly was absolutely correct about turning the boost up and then turning it back down. I talked to Barry Green, the crew chief. He said we've gone back down trying to conserve fuel, but you want to know why? It's empty.
Well, you only get so much fuel, and if that doesn't run, there's nothing you can do. You run out of fuel just like Tom Sneva did last weekend at Milwaukee. Watching this second and third place battle once again now. Here comes Michael down the main straightaway and completing lap number 93. So we have 11 more laps to go.
Just to give you an idea of the difference the boost makes when he turns it down. 6 laps ago, the gap between Michael and Mario was 14.4 seconds, and it progressively came down to now it's 8.9. So we can tell instantly by the lap times and by the gap that Michael had that boost turned down.
And you can see that the interval between first and second has narrowed somewhat. It's down to less than 9 seconds now. There's second and third, Mario Andretti, and third place, Al Unser Jr. By the way, Al Unser Jr. will make this kind of the cycle if he finishes third in this race today. He was the winner 2 years ago. He finished second here last year, and he's running third in this race today. Now, Meadowlands is the next IndyCar race after this one, and a year ago, Al Unser Jr. went from his third place finish here to win at the Meadowlands.
Michael has now put another lap on, the first lap on Tom Sneva. So now there's actually only 3 cars. The first 3, Michael, Mario, and Al Jr. are the only cars on the same lap, on the lead lap.
Once again, coming down the straightaway, second and third position, Mario and Al Unser Jr. So we may see an Andretti sweep here this afternoon. Michael's son winning and father, Mario, finishing second. And we've got 10 laps to go in this race. And we've had I would say, what would have to be two very serious appearing accidents, at least for a road course, when Roberto Guerrero ran up over the rear wheel and wing of Kevin Kogan, and then the accident that put Danny Sullivan into the guardrail hard not too long ago while he was battling with Michael Andretti for the lead. But nobody has been injured in this race. All has gone well to this point, and Michael Andretti is continuing to set the pace. 3 cars, as Derek said, on the lead lap with a 9-second advantage for Michael Andretti over his father. We'll be back right after this. G.I. Joe's Budweiser 200 in its closing stages here in Portland with Michael Andretti, the leader. It'll be his 2nd win in a row if he can hold on here for the next 8 laps. That's all that remain in this 104-lap race.
Lady Luck definitely sat in with Michael all day today, because we saw him hit his father, Mario, earlier on in a pass. We saw him have quite a collision with Sullivan, where Sullivan obviously came out the worst. And we saw him then get a puncture. He had to make a pit stop. And he still is in the lead. He still makes this look easy.
Yeah, he really does. That car has just been so superb in the last couple of races. It ran well at Indianapolis, of course, led for a long time. But Michael finished 4th in the Indianapolis 500 this year. Make that 6th place after starting in the front row and leading it. But boy, since then at Milwaukee, he was just totally dominant in that race. And here at Portland, he has also been very, very strong. That's Jeff Brabham that Michael Andretti is putting another lap on.
Jeff did put his hand up to motion Michael to go on inside him, because Jeff obviously has no need to race Michael at this stage. The only thing Jeff is interested in is that Honda is still running reliably, so that will give this team, the Gallus team, great hope for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it really will. He's running 7th right now, although he is 7 laps off the pace. The Honda engine has performed well all afternoon, and could definitely be a factor in IndyCar racing in the coming years once development is fully finished on that car.
This is actually a completely different engine than the Formula 1 engine that won the Canadian Grand Prix this morning. The Formula 1 engine is a V6. This engine is in fact a V8. It's a completely different engine. It's a completely different design and engineering staff. And at the moment, it's not officially under the wing of the factory Honda team. This is almost a private development Honda engine here that Gallus has.
It's about a 9-second lead. You can see the interval once again. That was Michael going through the chicane, and here comes 2nd and 3rd position. That's Raul Boesel, who is running right ahead of Mario Andretti. Boesel has been in and out of the pits all day, but is now in 9th position, about 12 laps off the pace. But there is Michael, and we are completing lap next time around. We'll complete 98 laps.
I think Mario can be quite happy with his 2nd position at the moment, because having started 7th and having not really got on the pace all weekend, because of everybody else's misfortune, he can just drive a workmanlike race and come in 2nd. So the points really that he probably didn't deserve, or the team didn't deserve this weekend, will come his way. But again, I know that many, many times Mario has deserved the points and has had bad luck and not got them.
Michael Andretti has a chance of picking up over $68,000 if he wins this race and become the top mini winner this year with over $400,000. 99 laps have just been completed, and Michael Andretti continues to hold on to the lead. We will resume with our live coverage right after this message. Rejoin us here at Portland International Raceway. There is some real concern that has surfaced in the last lap about whether or not Michael is going to have the fuel to finish. He reportedly has told his crew that he doesn't think he can finish this race. So the next 4 laps are going to be very important in the outcome of this race. Mario Andretti is running 2nd. Can Michael have enough fuel to go the distance?
There's Sandy, his wife. She obviously has heard the news, and she's very, very concerned. The last 4 laps, the gap was 8.6, came down to 7.9, 7.2, and now it's 6.2. So Michael Andretti is definitely in trouble. He's definitely conservative at the moment.
Gonna be an interesting conclusion here. Michael may have to either turn down the boost to the point that his father can catch him, or he may run out of fuel completely.
Some of you may remember the Indianapolis 500 when Bobby Rahal's light came on, the fuel light. These cars carry a fuel light. When it gets down to the last couple of gallons, the fuel light comes on, warning the driver. Now, if Michael has told his crew that he doesn't think he's going to make it, that means the light is on. But now with Bobby Rahal, he said the light broke and it came on 4 or 5 laps earlier. So Michael now has the risk of whether he backs off and lets everybody catch him, or whether he believes the light and stays on the power and runs out of fuel.
Passing Ed Pym and putting Ed another lap down. Ed now goes 3 laps down, but continues to run in 6th position. And we understand that Pym may be out of fuel. He is only coasting on the backstretch, so he may have run out of fuel completely.
Here's the 2nd and 3rd car. There's Mario in your picture now. There's little Al Jr. just behind him. So here's the leader. You'll just see the gap now. You'll actually see it. It was 6.1 last lap. That's Michael, Jeff Brabham, who's lapped, and Mario just gone out of your picture there. So the gap is reducing all the time, every lap.
It definitely is, and we've completed 102 laps. Next time around, they'll get the white flag. There'll be only 1 more lap to go. They're averaging 107.828 miles an hour at the end of 100 laps. The question is, does Michael Andretti have the fuel to complete about a lap and 3/4 right now? He is being chased by his father, Mario, and Al Unser Jr. There they are. They've been running 2nd and 3rd for several laps. Al Unser Jr. has been unable to pass Mario, staying in 3rd position. Here's Michael Andretti going through corner number 6 and onto the backstretch, and here comes 2nd and 3rd position. Jeff Brabham raises his hand, directing Mario and little Al by, so they can set off to catch the leader, Michael Andretti.
That's a good professional move by Jeff, and there's no need for him to be there. He's not in the race battle. He just lets the guys go ahead and just finish the race on their own terms.
Here comes Michael Andretti off of corner number 9. He's on the main straightaway, and the white flag is showing he only has 1 more lap to go, less than 2 miles, and this race will be over. Let's see if that car has enough fuel to go the distance. His wife looks toward the heavens and says a moment of prayer, hoping that her husband does have the fuel that will put him in victory lane for the 2nd consecutive IndyCar race. Last week, a dominant winner at Milwaukee on the Mile Oval. A completely different kind of racetrack here this afternoon in Portland, Oregon. But he still has the lead. He's rounding corner number 3 now, heading slightly uphill into corner number 5.
The gap when he passed our booth was 2.9 seconds, so he is very, very conservative. Mario is catching him at the rate of 2 seconds a lap.
He is on the backstretch on his final lap. This normally would be the 2nd fastest portion of the racetrack, but Michael Andretti is not going as fast this time as he has in previous laps. It appears as if he is going to make it. He's in corner number 9, the final corner on the racetrack. He comes off the 9th corner. The car is a little slow coming off the corner. He's out of fuel. He is out of fuel, dropping to the inside. And here comes the finish line. Who's going to win it? I think it's impossible to say at this point who won the race.
It looks like Mario.
Unbelievable. Michael ran out of fuel as the car came off the 9th corner. He dropped to the inside. Mario and little Al were coming quickly. They pulled up and they finished literally side by side at the start-finish line. It appears as if Mario might have won, but we're going to hold off any definite conclusion on that until we can study perhaps the videotape.
Officially, we have Mario as the winner. Michael in 2nd and Al Jr. in 3rd. And I think Michael's wife also thinks that he's lost it, because she is in tears down in pit lane at the moment.
Well, it's perhaps the closest and best IndyCar finish in history. Let's go to Jack Arute, who was at the start-finish line. Jack, in your opinion, who won?
No question. Mario Andretti beat him by a scant 4 inches. It was that close. It sputtered. It spurted. Mario, with the killer instinct, even though it was his son, stayed in the throttle as they came across the stripe. It was that close.
Well, the data speed does show indeed Mario Andretti as the winner of the race. Michael 2nd and Al Unser Jr. 3rd. Well,
we said earlier on that Mario was going to pick up 2nd place points, which he probably didn't deserve on the team's performance this weekend. Here he is with 1st place points, so hey, he deserves it now because he's done the job. He hung on in there. He drove hard.
I don't remember ever an IndyCar race as close as that. Do you, Derek?
This is a regular Formula One thing when people run out of fuel with 1 lap to go, but we've never actually seen it in IndyCars. And many, many times we've spoken about fuel and fuel problems at the end of these IndyCar races. And when the cars do finish, you think, well, what are they talking about? But here's a prime example where we knew Michael was in trouble, and we just waited and waited. We thought he would get away with it, but he didn't. Mario just caught him at the end.
Wow. Mario Andretti has won the G.I. Joe's Budweiser 200 from Portland. He only led 1 lap, and that was the last lap, and he won by a matter of inches over his son Michael, who led most of this race. Victory lane beginning to form now down there on the start-finish line on the racetrack itself. Jack Arute has made his way into that area of the race course, and we'll get a word with Mario in just a few moments to once again explain what happened. Michael Andretti had about a 6-second lead with about 10 laps to go, but ran out of fuel coming off of the final corner on the final lap. He dropped to the inside of the racetrack. His father Mario passed him at the start-finish line to win. Michael finished second. Al Unser Jr. was right there also in third position. So we will be back to talk with the winner and the surprise winner of this 200-mile IndyCar race here in Portland in just a moment. A tremendously exciting finish to this IndyCar race here in Portland. The winner is Mario Andretti. Second, Michael. Third, Al Unser Jr. Fourth was Tom Sneva. And fifth was Jacques Villeneuve. It is the closest IndyCar finish in history, 14/100ths of a second. And here is the end of the race. Derek?
You see Michael round the last turn here. Now immediately you can see he's in trouble because he's in the middle of the road, the shortest route to that checkered flag. He's in the middle, hoping, just hoping and praying that there's enough fuel to get him over the line. You can see Mario closes, and they just get to the line here. Mario is what? A nose cone ahead?
Yeah, 14/100ths of a second was the closest finish until today. That was at the Michigan 500 that Andretti won as well. But this one was even closer than that. This has to be measured in feet or even inches. Unbelievable finish, and really a big disappointment for Michael, who definitely had the superior car all afternoon.
Here we see it again. These two lines across the track at the finish line. Mario is just about the length of his nose cone ahead, so he pays back Michael for the little tap that Michael gave him earlier on.
So Mario had his last win here at Portland last year, and he begins another perhaps streak here this afternoon. Today's Winner's Circle interview is being brought to you by Goodyear Eagles. You either have Goodyear Eagles or you need them. Here is Jack Arute.
Well, Mario Andretti, happy Father's Day.
Well, I tell you, I take that. It's the most wonderful greetings he could have given me today, and I guess Michael just ran out of fuel on time, and funny thing is, I don't pity him at all.
You know, you always said all the time that Michael came up and started running Indy cars, and people like us would say, well, what if it came down to you and your son? Would you stay out of it? No question now what you'll do.
Well, the man upstairs is good to us because, as I said, we've been dreaming about these things, and what a day for it to happen. As I said, both of us can't really smile broadly, but it's just a wonderful thing, and I'm sure it's going to reverse, and it'll all even out. But for us, for the team, it's really fantastic.
Well, the guy that's coming in to make the congratulations right now is Michael Andretti. Tough break for you, Michael. What do you think, though, when you knew that you were running out of fuel and you knew that it was your father behind you?
Well, I knew it was going to be real close. In the last lap, I could barely keep the car running, and off of the last corner, it just died, and that's how he got me. But anybody's going to beat me, I'm glad it was him.
Mixed feelings at all?
Well, a little bit, for sure. You know, I wish we could have won, not only for me, but the crew and everything. But I also want to say sorry to Danny Sullivan. I didn't really mean to do that. It was just one of those things.
Do you want to say anything to your dad right now on national television?
Well, happy Father's Day, Dad.
That's the story from Victory Lane, and it's all Andretti.
It's the closest IndyCar finish in history. Make that 7/100ths of a second. Mario wins over Michael. Well, today's Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 has been brought to you by Goodyear. You either have Goodyear Eagles or you need them. By Mobil 1 Synthetic Motor Oil. Mobil 1 protects your engine better than any conventional motor oil. And by Budweiser Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. Thanks to Jackaroot for working the pit area and Derek Daly for his help in the booth. Once again, Mario wins over Michael in the closest IndyCar finish ever. This is Bob Jenkins. Thank you for joining us. So long, everyone.